If you come to think of what is special about an aircraft, now if you have a piece of land, for example, then you register your interest in the local registry. But an aircraft moves around, right? It could happen to be in Africa on one day and then in South America on the other day. So where do you register your interest? Now related to this, and also because aircraft cost a lot of money, transactions often involve parties in different countries, the lessors, the manufacturers, the financiers, the buyer, the airline, etc. They're all in different countries. Now, because of this, there is a need for a unification among different countries about the approach, right? So that's why various countries come together in Cape Town, South America, and that's why the convention is called Cape Town Convention. And in 2006, they entered into this convention, and later on more and more countries joined, and now we have 76, if I'm not wrong, countries joining up to the convention. Now what does it do? It brings a few improvements to the system. First of all, you create an international registry. Physically, it is situated in Dublin, Ireland, but then if you pay a registration fee, actually you can have access to the registry records and do registration whenever you are, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day basis. So it's very easy. Now it's basically a registration of the documents that people enter into in relation to an aircraft, whether it is a lease agreement, a mortgage, an assignment, etc. Okay, so that's point number one. I mean, basically, once you have registered yourself as a user of the system, you can check any aircraft or its engines by its manufacturer serial number, or MSN if you like, and see what documents have been registered against the aircraft or its engines. So it tells something about the aircraft or its engines to the world at large. Okay, so that's point number one. Okay, it's easier to check the interest behind the aircraft. Secondly, as I said, it often involves various countries, different countries, in the same transactions. So what the Cape Town Convention does is to try to unify the basic remedies that will be available to what they call a creditor in the transactions. Essentially, I mean, the most important thing that it does is that, first of all, it creates a more unified insolvency regime. You see, different countries have different insolvency rules, and when it comes to insolvency of the lessee or the mortgagor, that is someone who has borrowed on the security of the aircraft, then depending on the local law or local insolvency regime, you may or may not be able to repossess your asset, which have been listed or mortgaged to you. The convention gives some unity in the sense that once you have signed up to the convention, you need to make a choice. I mean, the country needs to make a choice. You can adopt two versions of arrangement. Version 1, by and large, is or what they call alternative A, is by and large adopted by most countries. You can declare a certain period called waiting period. But after that waiting period, if your lessee in your country or your mortgagor in your country is insolvent, you still have to release the aircraft and let the lessor or the lender repossess the aircraft, despite the fact that the insolvency proceedings is still going on. So it gives certainty. Okay, you are not going to be held to the process forever. So the length of the waiting period will be dependent upon the particular country, but then at the very least, you got some certainty. There is an alternative B, which is adopted by fewer countries, basically it's mainly Mexico, which allow the insolvency administrator to hold on to the aircraft but cure any default under the lease agreement or the mortgage. So even with alternative B, of course it's less preferred, you still have some, you see, protection. So unifying the insolvency regime. And also, importantly, you got a little piece of paper, what they call IDERA. The long form of it is irrevocable deregistration power of attorney. Now, it requires the lessee or the mortgagor, that is someone who has borrowed on the basis of the aircraft, to give a piece of paper, what they call IDERA, to the lender or the lessor. That paper is an authority for the mortgagee, that's the bank, or the lessor, to deregister the aircraft from the lessee or the borrower's country so that you can no longer operate it, and then you have power to export the aircraft in the case of a default. That is, it makes things easier. Make it easier for the lessor or the bank to repossess the aircraft in a default scenario.